We live in a vast sea of energy. Everything, every atom, every subatomic particle is in constant motion, spinning eternally. Even in the cold, dark, absolute vacuum of empty space, there exists what new physics is calling the quantum vacuum flux. It is the ether of the ancients, the life force energy of metaphysics, are the random fluctuations of this vast field of potential in which space and time are embedded. Now, theoretically and mathematically proven, the question no longer is, does this zero-point energy exist? But rather, can we tap this inexhaustible resource of free and unlimited energy and manifest new technologies which are both inexpensive and environmentally safe?
All the way through this investigation, it was clear to me that if you understood the structure of the vacuum, the structure of the foundation of creation, you could reproduce it in a technology. As I looked at the Ark of the Covenant in the Bible, the Ark that they call the Ark of God, they give dimensions of that box. It's like a box-like object that's got gold on the outside, wood in the middle, and gold on the inside.
The book of Exodus in the Bible is very clear on how to build the Ark of the Covenant. The box had to be made of hard chitim wood, or acacia as it's known today, 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, and 27 inches deep, and then lined inside and out with pure gold. A solid gold mercy seat, or lid, was to be placed on top of the ark, upon which perched 2 gold winged cherubs facing each other with their wings spread. 2 wooden carrying poles were then passed through gold rings on either side of the box to allow it to be carried safely. But the Bible also says the ark erupted in a shower of sparks and flames, killing those who touched it and laying waste armies. Clearly this was no ordinary carrying chest. Although controversy still surrounds his work in this field, there are many scientists who have validated Hutchinson's pioneering research. He believes that it might have been a high-voltage capacitor, part of some lost, ancient technology. According to his theory, when it was carried across the hot desert, the 2 gold cherubs on top of the box collected huge amounts of static and electromagnetic electricity, causing the entire outside of the ark to be negatively charged. With the hard acacia wood acting as an insulator between them, the inside of the box, also gold-lined, would have become positively charged and would have been able to build up and store a lethal voltage, zapping anyone who touched it. If this theory is true, then 3,000 years ago, this would have indeed seemed like God in a box.
Well, that's a capacitor. A capacitor is an object that holds energy. When you charge it, just like a battery, it holds energy, except that a battery can only discharge the energy very slowly. A capacitor can discharge the energy in an instant. So when I looked at it, I thought, well, that's a neat capacitor. It would be quite large in capacitance. It would be a very high level, a lot of capacitance. It would have really high voltage, and it would be quite heavy. It would be a heavy object, extremely heavy. In fact, it would be way too heavy to lift up with 2 flimsy poles. It would weigh over 3 tons because of all the gold on it. And then I noticed that those boxes were the exact appropriate boxes to fit inside the sarcophagus inside the Grand Pyramid of Giza. Meaning that the box size is a perfect fit so that you can lower the ark inside the sarcophagus, inside the Grand Pyramid, and then push the poles in without having to touch the capacitor, which would zap the crap out of it.
Strange World of John. The ancient Egyptians were using voltaics and different metals and also possibly electrostatics. And I think they even had like crude light bulbs from what I'm told.
One of the more controversial theories on the Great Pyramid at Giza is that it was an energy source built at a specific location to harness a strong, natural electromagnetic field, like other ancient sites such as Glastonbury and Machu Picchu. According to these theories, the king's chamber inside the Great Pyramid functioned like a huge capacitor and stored this charge, causing those inside to have out-of-body experiences. Could this really be true? I had to find out for myself. What I find the most intriguing about the king's chamber is this basin here. It's made out of quartz and granite, and it's the same cubic capacity as the Ark of the Covenant. 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, and 27 inches deep. What was it used for? Could it have been that the Ark of the Covenant was placed in here, and that's how the pyramid came to life?
So it was a perfect fit. And I started to think, what would you want to carry in a capacitor like that? There must have been some extremely powerful energy source, energy device inside that capacitor.
In 1904, a British archaeologist, Flinders Petrie, came across an Egyptian temple at Sarabit el-Khadam, a short distance away, which was dated back to the time of Moses and the Exodus from Egypt. Sarabit el-Khadam was dated back to 2600 BC. Why was there a major ancient Egyptian temple so far away from Thebes, built on a remote mountaintop? When Petrie excavated the site, he found evidence of furnaces, crucibles, and tools, as well as a large amount of white powder mixed with sand. This was clearly much more than just a temple. A place of science and worship? Could this possibly have been where the Ark of the Covenant was built? There's an Egyptian working in the Valley of the Kings who may have the answer. Ibrahim Mohammed Ali Rabe is the head of one of the oldest families in Gurna.
And there is few family.
His great-grandfather helped excavate in the Valley of the Kings, and his detailed knowledge of the area has been passed down through generations.
We live in the tombs of the noble here. The Gorna people, when they come, they used to live inside the tombs, and they start to build their houses outside the tombs. And we know there is, especially in the tombs of the noble, they have so much secret about power.
Working in the tombs of the nobles, which have been largely abandoned by modern archaeologists, Ibrahim has spent years analyzing the mummies and researching the burial rituals of the high priests. Controversially, he believes the Ark may have been used to produce a very fine powdered gold known as mufskst, or life, which he's found in many of the mummies of the nobles. He thinks the powder was produced by exposing the naturally mined gold to great heat inside or on the Ark. And although there's no proof that this was the case, the scientific theory is possible.
Here used to be a stone door, has been locked and sealed and painted, so nobody knows. This used to be a secret place for the powder jar. Here we are in a secret place where they used to put golden powder and the white powder inside jar, and this inside jar used to be in one of these small rooms here inside.
But the jars are broken, so someone stole what was inside.
Yeah, somebody broke them actually because they found them sealed. They don't know the secret.
Yeah.
They just broke them. Somebody's arm.
Oh my God.
See how big?
Wow.
And it's heavy because of all the medicine herb and the gold inside.
I know about this special white powder. There's been a lot of interest in the scientific community about it. They refer to it in the scientific community as monatomic elements.
Yeah.
It's white powder that is found in mining areas, and they analyze it and find that it contains gold, the salts of gold.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Now it looks as simple as that. It looks just like a little white powder that on the face of it could be anything. That particular powder, not so long ago, was a sliver cut from a 24-carat Canadian maple leaf gold coin. So that gold powder is nothing but the atoms of gold. It's called asymmetrically deformed high spin. It's a high spin element because the way that the nucleus is shaped and the way that the electrons spin around it changes. And it's gold in a very shocked and frightened state that simply says, I don't know what I am anymore, I'll just fall apart. It would be the same whether it was atoms of platinum or any of those metals that are classified as noble, transition group metals, the science call them. The interesting thing about it is that within the space of time that it takes to transform a piece of gold into that, we move through analysis in a situation where here it tests as gold. Here, it doesn't matter what analysis you use. You can use spectroscopy, neutron activation, chemical analysis, whatever you like. It won't tell you it's gold. It is not gold anymore. It's a very strange and unique form of silica now. And this has caused a lot of interest in the scientific world. They've actually established now that those things which are the prize valuable metals are actually constructed of atoms that aren't metal. The only thing that is metallic are the bonds, the little gluons that hold the atoms together and form the solid. And once they've gone, the metal goes, the colour changes, the colour just disappears. This material has become enormously important. It's become important in terms of the medical industry, it's become important in terms of the power generative industry, it's become important in terms of fuel, and therefore it moves from the operating table of the local hospital into the spacecraft somewhere up there. This is a material of great magic. In today's world, the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin in Texas has described these materials as exotic matter. It can think of no better way to explain them. They're exotic. They conform to no rules and that they're not like anything else they've ever known. They are not on the periodic table of elements. Science has never known about them until the last few years. When Lost Secrets of the Sacred Ark was first published, and that was 10 months ago, there were scientists claiming then that there was no such thing as monatomic gold. Well, that was their view then. These are some of the things that we get in today's scientific press. There is masses of this information, all about monatomic gold, about nanowires made from monatomic elements, and about their uses in various forms of technology. How important they are, how they can communicate with each other, how they resonate with DNA, how they will contain and attract energy. It can't reconfigure itself as metal. What it actually is little strings of atoms like the top picture there. They're called clusters or microclusters. Scientists are calling these wires now. They're really like DNA strands. They group together in little clusters like the bottom part of the picture and form these little clusters. So what we're seeing in the powder that we were just looking at, every grain of that powder is one of these clusters at the bottom. Little groupings of single atoms just hooked together but not by anything metallic.